Everyone, today's topic is Sabrimala issue. This is an ongoing issue for some time now, but the issue is still relevant for exam point of view. So where we can locate this issue in our syllabus? In prelims, it is clearly given as right issues and it is relevant in uh, GS paper 2 in main syllabus. So we have seen that UPSC tend to ask questions where there is conflict or contradiction between rights given to citizen. And this issue is a classic example how courts take their stand while dealing with this conflicting situation. So let's get started. So why in news? Uh, we know the famous Sabrimala judgment came in 2018, and then a review petition was also filed. Now the Supreme Court has deferred the decision and uh, referred it to a larger bench of 7 judges to examine few broader issues. These broader issues are like essentiality of religious practices and constitutional morality. The larger bench will also consider other places of worship where entry is restricted, like mosques, and few religious practices like female genital mutilation among Dawidi Bohra community. So the larger bench will now discuss few constitutional questions, and then depending upon their judgment, the uh, previous judgment can be overridden. So one question arises, under which article it is given that the Supreme Court can review and change their previous decision. So it is Article 137. Now let us understand the background of the issue. So the issue was about discrimination with women in menstruating age in the entry of Sabrimala temple. So why the restriction is there? It is believed that the deity in Sabrimala temple is a complete celibate, which is also called as Naistik Brahman. So it is believed, since the deity is a celibate, so it is prohibitory for the women in reproductive age to visit the temple so that the sanctity of deity can be preserved. So this issue arose, and it came up to Supreme Court in Indian Young Lawyers Association versus State of Kerala. Supreme Court gave its judgment, and the bench was five judge bench. They allowed the entry of women as they saw it as a form of untouchability. So under Article 17, they said this cannot continue, and women have the right to enter the Sabrimala temple. Though this ruling was not unanimous, Indu Malhotra dissented from the other 4 judges, and she wanted that the decision on religious practice should be taken by the religious leaders, and court should not interfere in these matters. So in her dissent note, she said courts should not sit on judgment over harmless religious practices unless they are pernicious, such as sati. So after this judgment, we had seen the large scale disruptions and protests regarding the uh, entry of women in Sabrimala temple. So subsequently, a review petition was filed in Supreme Court on the ground that constitutional morality is a vague concept and hence cannot be used to undermine faith and belief. So this was the background of the issue till date. Now the latest development is that Supreme Court has handed over this issue to a larger bench of 7 judges, and we need to see how the later further development comes out. So what are the various constitutional questions which the 7 judge bench will examine? The first one is how to balance right to religion under Article 25 and 26 with other fundamental rights, especially Article 14. So we know that Article 25 gives the personal right to individual or citizens to practice and profess religion of their own choice, and Article 26 is the right given to the religious denomination to manage their religious affairs. So in practicing these two rights, it may seem that sometimes some religion or some religious practices are in contradiction with other fundamental rights, like right to equality, Article 14. So court will see how they can manage and balance this contradiction. The another question is, should essential religious practices or the doctrine of essentiality be given constitutional protection under Article 26? What this means? It means that can courts can decide the essential practices of each and every religion and then provide them a constitutional protection under Article 26 and allow the religious denominations to manage their affairs surrounding the essential religious practices. The another question which courts will see is that how much judicial recognition a court should give to a PIL filed by a person from another religion. This is another interesting issue, that suppose a person from a different religion finds out an anomaly or a bad practice done in some different religion, and he files a PIL stating it infringes upon the fundamental rights. So to what extent courts should allow these kind of PILs? If it allows all these PILs, then we will see a proliferation of PILs with motivated motives. Another and fourth question is whether court should probe whether a practice is essential, or these matter should be left to religious heads. See, we know that courts have expertise in law and constitution, but it is not possible for the judges to have a theological understanding about a particular religion. So it is important that the religious affairs and decisions should be taken by the people who have knowledge about that religion. If it comes to court, then court will only see the legal and constitutional issues, but it may not be a holistic understanding of the issue. The last question is about the issue of gender equality, that whether any religion can bar women from entering places of worship. So it is not confined to the Sabrimala case only. Courts should see that whether any religion can impose any form of gender inequality on women. Now comes the doctrine of essentiality, that let's see how it evolved and what is the issues with doctrine of essentiality. What it means? It means that the essential religious practices. See, in every religion there are so many practices and it varies from people to people. But the doctrine of essentiality says that there are some core practices which is essential for practicing a particular religion. So this concept of doctrine of essentiality came in a Shirur Mutt case in 1954, which says the term religion will cover all ritual and practices essential or integral to a religion. But courts also took upon itself the responsibility to decide whether a practice is essential or not. So now after this judgment, there were several debates upon different issues related to doctrine of essentiality. Let us see few points about these debates. Number one, essentiality versus right to freedom of religion. See, understand, in India, Constitution provides freedom to an individual to decide based on his own conscience that what he or she want to profess. But when courts define few essential practices as core for a particular religion, then it impinges upon the autonomy of the particular individual to decide what to practice. So this issue also came in Ratilal Gandhi versus State of Bombay in 1954. Another debate is about the issue of judicial overreach. Few political thinkers and intellectuals also pointed out that it is beyond the capacity of a court to check whether a particular practice is essential to a religion or not. It should be left to the theologists or the religious heads. Another third important point is arbitrariness. In several cases, we have seen while determining the essentiality of a particular practice, Supreme Court or the courts have taken different parameters. For example, sometimes they see the religious text and see whether this practice has been written in the religious text or not. Sometimes they have observed the empirical behavior of the followers of a particular religion, and in sometimes it has checked whether the practice was prevalent from the origin of that particular religion. So whenever there are a range of parameters to judge essentiality, it definitely leads to arbitrariness, which is not uh, helpful in objective judgment. The fourth debate was group right versus individual right. Again, religion is very personal, and the individual should have the right to decide what practices he wants to do while professing his religion. But whenever courts decide that these are the following practices which are essential for this religion, then it preserves the group right, not the individual right. For example, let us see a hypothetical situation. Suppose a temple visit or temple worship is essential for Hindu, but another Hindu who establishes a small temple in his own house and practices his religion there. Now, if court says that temple worship is essential and your home worship is not essential, then it preserves the group right, not your individual right. This is an hypothetical example. We can understand the concept by this. So with this, we come to an end of this discussion about the Sabrimala issue. We have seen the background, why it is in news now, and different constitutional issues which arises with this issue. Now let us quickly recap few things and then end the session. See, when if any question comes with this concept in prelims, we will be able to eliminate the wrong options from our understanding. But when it comes to mains answer writing, if a question is framed on the issue of doctrine of essentiality or the Sabrimala issue itself, then we need to have few things ready beforehand. What are these things? See, in this lecture, what all articles we have discussed, what all judgments we discussed, only 3 judgments. So you need to remember these 3 judgments and quote in your answer, and try to build your argument based on these judgments itself. So this will fetch you more marks. So thank you very much. I hope you liked this video. Thank you.